And joining me today from the Warming Center, Sean Patrick O'Neill.
Hey, John.
And we have we have the woman in charge, Tonya Horn.
Hi, John.
Good to have you guys with us today. Got a couple of things to talk about. First of all, Sean, let's talk about the community cleanup.
Yes, thank you, John. Last week, we partnered with the FreshLife Church youth minister, Zach Martin, and he was able to organize a few members from the church to help us with the community cleanup. We collaborated with them for their Rock This City campaign that they hosted last week, where they did a lot of different things for our community, but one of them was partnering with the Warming Center to clean up an area that is known as the trestle along the Parkline Trail. We were able to get permission from the Parkline Trail organization or the Rails to Trails, apologies, the Rails to Trails. And those folks do a great job of making sure that that place is very clean and safe. But we decided to chip in and get into the nitty gritty, picking up cigarette butts or trash left over from folks using the trail, maybe sometimes from folks camping on the trail in some of those areas where it may appear a little bit trashy, for lack of better words, but we wanted to make sure that we gave back a little bit with that organization over there, FreshLife. They wanted to do something with us, and we figured that what better thing to do than to clean up the community.
I like it. Very, very cool. And I like the fact that you're stepping out away from the area there around the Warming Center. I know there's been a lot of complaints about that.
Yes.
And I know you're on it.
Yeah, sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
yeah,
sorry.
That is one of the things we get from a lot of the folks that come into the Warming Center. They tell us about where there's cleanup that needs to be done, where folks may be leaving things behind. Maybe they're homeless, maybe they're not homeless. But they actually do their part, and they're the ones giving us that information so that maybe we can organize these things. But they, with what implements they do have, try to do their best to keep these areas clean. In fact, when we showed up to the trestle last week, there were already one garbage can and a couple of garbage bags that had already been piled up from folks cleaning up that may be living around that area outside. But then when we showed up, there was actually a few folks that were part of the homeless community that knew we were going to be doing this cleanup, and they met us there so that they could actually help clean up that area with us. So that was a really cool thing for everyone that isn't familiar with the homeless community in that FreshLife group. They were able to really open their eyes a little bit and see some things, work with some people that they weren't used to.
John, the homeless community wants to be a part of our overall community. And the more opportunities that we can give to them to do that, we've seen time and time again, those are the folks that we serve rise to that. Being a part of a community means something. When you become homeless, you don't just lose a home, a house, a structure. A lot of times you lose community. And when we can come together as a community and provide more opportunities for each other to interact with each other, that's what I think makes those community cleanups the most powerful.
You bring up an interesting point. I would imagine when someone becomes homeless, they kind of turn inside themselves because they're not real sure they want anybody else to understand the situation they're in.
Well, yes, but there's also a lot of structure in place within communities and within our community that puts a divide. This is the homeless and this is us. It makes it a divide. And when we come together with opportunities, that's what true community is. We're learning from each other, we're working alongside from each other, and we're improving our community together.
And this is just a cool thing that you guys did, and I'm particularly struck with the fact that there is no area on the Parkline Trail that's more geographically separated from the Warming Center.
Correct, yes. It's definitely nowhere near us, but we wanted to make sure that folks who recreate there are feeling safe and comfortable, and trying to change that imagery that we have of folks that are in the homeless community. And we see that it's done when folks actually get into knowing these folks. When the FreshLife members were participating, a lot of them it appeared had not had a lot of experience interacting with folks that are experiencing homelessness. And in fact, Zach, who was the leader from that group, he was even speaking to some of the news that had shown up about how he was surprised at how easy it was and how much in common he had with the folks just meeting them, him holding the dustpan while a homeless gentleman was sweeping in, dirt or items off of the trail. And so it was just really one of those poignant moments where we realized members of the community do not understand folks that are homeless, and they're scared and they're uncomfortable around them, but that is not the homeless person's fault. That is our job to make sure that we understand better. And so they had that first real experience in real time, and that was pretty cool to see.
And what I would encourage our community is to work through the uncomfortableness, allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. Most of our lives, we try, not to be uncomfortable. But when we allow us in a situation where we feel uncomfortable and we work through that uncomfortableness, there is a lot of beauty on the other side. Yeah. There's a lot of sense of community when we come together in those ways.
There's no greater fear than fear itself.
That's true.
And if you're afraid of a situation or afraid of somebody, there's only one way to get past it, and that's to embrace it.
Yes, and to move through that uncomfortableness and to better understand. Sometimes we're afraid just because we don't understand.
Any chance we're going to do this again in some other areas?
We definitely plan on having future cleanups with partners in the community, but one thing that we will be continuing to do regardless of these partnerships or whatnot is our community cleanup around our neighborhood. And we're going to be continuing that weekly throughout the summertime. It's not just during our shelter season. It's a little different because folks seek shelter during those cold months, and they are coming into their home relative to the time being for shelter, and so they want to get back, to their home. Well, we're not offering shelter during the summer. We just offer day services. People come in for a shower, laundry, and a meal. Well, they're coming in an hour early on Thursdays to help us go around the neighborhood and clean up for what? No reason other than to get back to their community. They have no requirement for our services. There's no benefit to them other than just feeling like they've contributed. And so we'll have folks come at 11 a.m. on Thursdays to help us. They put on our vest and we get our grabbers, and we're going out and we're going to make sure that we keep, we're proud of our neighborhood, and we want to keep it grand. We want to keep it clean and safe, and that's our way of doing it, at least the showing and doing the action.
Well, the next opportunity here is an impact tour, and Tonya's going to tell us about that next. Today we're talking with the Warming Center Sean Patrick O'Neill and the Executive Director Tonya Horn. So, Tonya, tell us about the impact tour.
Well, John, first I have a question for you. You've been to the Warming Center, and you've toured. Tell me what your thought was when you went into the bunk room of the Warming Center.
I thought it was incredibly well organized and incredibly clean.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, what we have done now through the warm weather season is we've started what we call a self-guided impact tour. If you were to walk in now, you would see different stories on the bunks. You would see different statistics throughout the bunk room. The idea is to give the individual time to do a self-guided, as much time as they would like to better understand, to learn something, and maybe even to question what we thought we already knew, a time of reflection, and a time of better understanding what we talk about when we say the Flathead Warming Center.
Fascinating. I'd love to know some of those stories.
Yes. Well, we'd love to invite our community to come in. Something about being there when you see it. Mm-hmm. You may have an image in your mind of already what we've talked about when we talk about the Warming Center and our services and what we do and who we serve. But it's different when you're standing there in the bunk room. And when it hits you with the different stories and the different numbers, what we're really talking about. It gives a little bit of an experience and helps us to better understand the Warming Center. So we invite our community to come in for an impact tour. The best times to come in would be when we're open through the warm weather season, so Mondays and Thursdays from noon to 7 p.m., anytime there. And you're just going to be able to go straight to the bunk room and spend the amount of time that you would like to. It could be very brief or it could be longer. And then we're available if you have any questions or if you just want to leave at that point.
I think it's a great idea to give people an opportunity to really see what you guys are doing. It's hard for me, for most of us, I think, to imagine 50 people, needing a place to stay on a cold winter night here in northwest Montana, and how that all goes down. I think it's probably beyond most of our ability to even imagine it.
Absolutely, but when you can put a face and when you can kind of humanize what we've been talking about, it really helps people to better understand and maybe even rethink what they have been told about the Warming Center and told about, John, honestly, our community was told that we were doing something wrong. And we don't just get over that, just because a case is closed or whatever. That's something that we're going to have to build back and crawl back out of. And so one way to do that is for people to come and just see firsthand. And we always invite people. We've always had an open door, and we always will. We want people to feel welcomed because we are community supported. And so that means our community needs to understand what they're supporting. And there's no better way to come. And this is just another opportunity. And for those that can't come, maybe through those Mondays and the Thursdays, if they just give us a call, we will schedule any time and meet someone there and let them take that self-guided tour.
One of the things that I think is fascinating, and again, you're a long ways away from working yourself out of a job. We're going to have a lot of homeless people with us for a while. But there are fewer homeless people today than there were before you started this year.
Absolutely. We continue to work with our guests to move on to a better situation, a better life outcome. And we had some great results this season that we're very excited about.
Yes. I just think it's proof that people do not want to be homeless when we see the amount of folks that are trying to get into these better situations. And they're not just trying to do it like short term. They're trying to better their lives. The only way they know how at this point is ask for help usually, and if we don't have the help there, they're not going to get to where they need to go. And so that's some of the stuff we've been able to do better each year. 24 last year, 35 this year. We intend to hopefully even increase that by another 11, the following season that we have coming up. But our goal is also during the summer to not see these people next season. We want the folks that we saw last season to continue working with us to get to these better situations so we don't see these same people. And we hope not to see more. We do feel that the needs are huge. They're not insurmountable. They're not. We can address them, and we can start to really make some dents in these areas, these gaps. But it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take some investment of time and money too that maybe not everyone's on board for right now, but we're going to have to. We're spending money on folks no matter what, whether it's through the emergency room or the jail system. We spend a lot less when we're at the Warming Center on folks getting into better situations.
I think it's fantastic that you have gotten 30 people out of the homeless situation that they were in. And that, of course, is the goal of everything that you try to do. But still, you're the entry point. You're the point where when it's a cold winter night and somebody's out there freezing to death, you're the entry point to save their lives.
We take the most vulnerable community members and we build a relationship with them, and we help them through our roadmap program, that step by step to get out of homelessness. It's so important, but I say it over and over and over again. It's all because of relationships, whether it's the relationships that we build with our community that helps us to be able to do this, whether it's the relationships that we continue to try to build with our neighbors, but it's also the relationships that we build with the individuals that we serve. Relationships are so very key to what we do.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for all that you're doing for the homeless community and helping the rest of us understand why that is. And there's a way to work our way out of it. We just have to apply a little pressure.
And we have to do it together.
All right. Sean Patrick O'Neill, Tonya Horn, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, John.